Make sure. Let's do it.
This is Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, our Friday edition. I'm your host with the Hall of Fame boxing writer, Jack Hirsch, who also is our football historian and guru during our show. And we're here to bring you some of the, of course, we're going to start off with the Thanksgiving games, Jack, where, there were three really good games. I mean, I was really entertained yesterday when we had our turkey and then we watched some great games. So we're going to get into that. But first, Jack, how was your Thanksgiving?
Good, Mac. 3 games. I think people are more interested in the games than what I did on Thanksgiving. But it was good, Mac. Yours was good too, I trust.
Yes. So, okay, so let's get into the Thanksgiving games. We had the Bills playing the Lions. And the Lions looked like they might have the Bills' number yesterday, but the Bills came back and they squeaked by the Lions. Some really good football played out there. Of course, their quarterback, Josh Allen, did what he does. Goff played a good game, Jack. I think he's an underrated passer.
Yeah, Mac. I mean, he played a decent game. He's had a good year for the Lions this year. When you speak of the Detroit Lions and Thanksgiving, if there's anything depressing about Thanksgiving, it's watching the Lions play year after year after year because they virtually always have a bad team, and they don't have a good team right now. Let's be honest about it. They've won a few games this year. You can argue that they're headed in the right direction. I think they are, but the year on balance has been a disappointment on balance, even though they had a 3-game winning streak going into yesterday's game. But it gets to the point where moral victories shouldn't be accepted anymore. And I think the Lions are definitely at that point. They lose a thriller to the Buffalo Bills, a field goal at the end of the game, a 45-yard field goal beats them. And you might say, oh, wow, the Lions nearly won their 4th in a row. But the bottom line is they came up short yesterday against an elite team in the Buffalo Bills. So I don't want to hear about moral victories. Year after year after year, we get the Lions on Thanksgiving. And for the most part, they lose Thanksgiving games. But with that said, it was a really good game yesterday. And Jared Goff, he's not an elite quarterback by any means. He's not close to being one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, Mac. But I think he's a decent middle-of-the-pack quarterback. I think you can win with him, if you gear your team around him, because I think he's a decent game manager. And when called upon, he can sometimes be a little more than just a game manager. So he's not the problem with the Detroit Lions on balance. But good game, good thrilling game. And the Buffalo Bills now have it back together. And they were my pick to win the Super Bowl this year, and I'm sticking with them.
Well, I love tradition when it comes to any sport, really, especially football. And to me, Thanksgiving Day, football is all about the Lions. That's their Super Bowl, Jack. They prepare all year for the Thanksgiving Day game. I think he played really good. The defense kind of played good in the beginning and then kind of let up at the end. I don't know if they were tired or too much turkey, whatever happened there. But Josh Allen, he did what he had to do, as he always does, Jack.
Mac, I hate calling you out on things, Mac, because I do think at the core you're a pretty knowledgeable football guy. But you make these statements. Do you really think the Lions are preparing all season for the Thanksgiving game, that they're targeting it? Let me tell you something. After they play the Sunday before, and they turn around. They look at the Thanksgiving game as a pain in the butt. Every team does because it's short rest. You just played and now you're out there playing again, and you might have all these aches in the players. It's kind of like a rush thing. But when you're done with the Thanksgiving game, now you have a rest period till the next game. I'm going to tell you what's ironic about the game in Detroit, which a lot of people don't realize. The Buffalo Bills got snowed out of Buffalo for their game with the Cleveland Browns. So they moved the game to Detroit last Sunday. So the Bills win in Detroit last Sunday against, of course, the Cleveland Browns. And now they're in Detroit a few days later against the Lions. So the Bills they probably love Detroit to a degree. They've certainly, been successful on that field.
Well, let's get to the next game. And, of course, the game that I was most interested in, that was the Giants at Dallas. The Giants in the first half kind of had it going. A bad throw by Daniel Jones to Saquon Barkley. He was wide open. He had a lot of pressure on him, too. I ain't giving him excuses. But that offensive line, Jack, was banged up. Their two defensive cornerbacks out. I mean, the Giants going from their game to Thursday, a short week, plus the injuries. That must have been really, really hard for them to play that game, Jack.
It wasn't hard for the Cowboys. Come on, Mac. Everyone has the same conditions. I don't want to hear
they don't have the injuries the Giants had.
The problem is we saw the Giant weakness on offense yesterday. They come and go based on what Saquon Barkley does. And he didn't have a good game yesterday. Okay, you could argue he didn't have the blocking or whatever, but Saquon Barkley wasn't a factor. He scored a 1-yard touchdown, big deal, but he had something like, 39 yards, rushing yards on the game or so. And they had a difficult time running the ball, and they had a difficult time utilizing Saquon Barkley on the short passes, which forced Daniel Jones to open up the field more. And we saw when Daniel Jones is forced to do that, open things up, he's very average, very, very average, okay? He wasn't a difference maker. And conversely, Dak Prescott showed he could be a difference maker. Whether you think Dak Prescott is an elite quarterback or not, that's another argument. But Dak Prescott has shown at least a history of being able to open things up downfield when he has to at times, make the big play. Daniel Jones hasn't shown that to this point. Does he have it in him? Maybe he does. I have serious doubts. But maybe he does. You could say, well, the receivers are hurt. He hits Slayton with a good pass downfield. Everyone's going to make the occasional big play. Any quarterback, we know that. But Daniel Jones was forced to step up and do something special yesterday for the Giants to win, play a special type game. And, he didn't do it because he's just not that type of quarterback. He's strictly a game manager. When all the pieces are in place, Daniel Jones knows how to shuffle them around the board. But when all the pieces aren't in place, he can't get it together really and carry a team for a little while.
Jack, how can you blame Daniel Jones when their offensive line, they had third stringers out there playing Sunday. They have no offensive line right now. Their offensive line is pieced together and had a couple brief moments where they looked good, but you can't hold off the Dallas rush or the Dallas run game when you have players that normally don't play.
I'm not blaming Daniel Jones for the loss in itself. It was a team effort, but Daniel Jones could have done more for his team in that situation. We've seen other quarterbacks do it. When they have problems with the offensive line, they step up, they make plays. Who has a worse offensive line the last couple of years than, let's say, the Cincinnati Bengals? They just haven't been good, yet Joe Burrow has made the type of plays that Daniel Jones hasn't shown he could make. That's the difference. Daniel Jones, the best way to describe him, he's a serviceable quarterback. And serviceable quarterbacks aren't going to, be difference makers. They're not going to take a step up and do the little bit of extra, elevate the guys around you. Okay. And it seems like I am blaming Daniel Jones, but the bottom line is Saquon Barkley is far and away the most important offensive person they have on that team, offensive weapon, let's call him. And the Cowboys kept him in check, and the Giants didn't have much of a chance after. They, at that point, had to rely on a great defensive effort. And the defense came up a little short for the Giants, too. Let's be honest about it. We talk about Daniel Jones, but what about the Giant defense? What will we rate them? Will we rate them elite? I don't think so. Will we rate them very good? I don't think so. Can you rate them good? Perhaps. But, at best, I think the Giant defense is an okay defense. Ezekiel Elliott had a big game running against them yesterday. C.D. Lamb was getting open, on plays. Dalton Schultz, the Cowboy underrated tight end. Was getting, open, had a couple of TDs against them. And so the Giant defense didn't really come up with a big effort. On balance, you could say they were a little better than average, perhaps. But that's about as far as you could go. But they needed something more, with the offensive line of the Giants hurt, being a bit down. The defense just had to step up. And they didn't really step up quite as much as you'd hope they would, even though they weren't bad.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed. So what do you think this does for their playoff chances? I mean, they're 7-4 right now. They got some really tough games coming up, Jack. They got to play Philly. They got to play Washington twice. They may not make the playoffs, Jack.
I don't think they are, Mac. You want to know, Craig, they're 7-4. They have 6 games left. You want a prediction for me what they're going to wind up? They're going to wind up 9-8. How's that?
That's not bad.
They're going to go 2-4 the rest of the way, meaning if you add on the 2 losses they've had the last 2 games, they would have lost 6 of their last 8 games. And that was the Giant team that people were basically expecting. I said to you a couple of weeks ago, the 2 biggest games they're going to have are the Houston Texans and the Detroit Lions, because those are games they got to win. They took care of business against Houston. Kudos to them. But then they lost to the Lions because I knew the schedule was going to get tough. Now you're playing Philadelphia. Now you're playing Dallas. You can't count on winning those games. You hope you grab a couple. But the Lion game, they absolutely needed that game at home. And then if you falter a bit later the rest of the way, you kind of put money in the bank to still get into the playoffs. But they lost the Lion game, and now the door's open. They might not get into the playoffs unless they surprise us. And, they have a couple of games with Philly. What are the chances of them winning one? I mean, maybe could they win at home against the Eagles? You never know. Maybe they put it together there against the Eagles at home. Are they going to win in Philadelphia? That would be a big upset. They play Washington, who's no longer a pushover, and it's not going to be easy. I mean, if the Giants are really a good team, they're going to make the playoffs. But if they're not, do they have enough of a cushion to get in? That's the question.
I agree. The third game was Minnesota against the Patriots. This, to me, was the best game of Thanksgiving. It was kind of all out. They were throwing the ball all over the place. Minnesota, Kirk Cousins was making some big throws to his number one receiver.
Justin Jefferson, yeah.
Yeah, the Patriots looked like they were going to win it for a minute there. The quarterback of the Patriots, he had some really big, he had some really big moments there. Running game wasn't bad, but Minnesota puts it away 33-26. Minnesota looks like they're on their way to winning the division. The Patriots now, another team that they're looking for answers. Can they get in a wild card? Will they make the playoffs? What do you think, Jack?
They have a reasonable shot. The Patriots is still getting in as a wild card. They're certainly not going to win their division. They're at 6-5, 10-7. I kind of feel it's going to get you into the playoffs there, which means in reality they've got to go 4-2 the rest of the way, which is doable. Just a word about the Minnesota Viking wide receiver, Justin Jefferson. I think at this particular moment, it could change week to week, that Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the NFL at this particular moment. Just at this moment now, 2 weeks from now, I might be saying it's someone else because they have a number of really great elite receivers. But Justin Jefferson has really been playing out of his mind. He's been making these circus catches, these acrobatic catches that even have your favorite receiver, OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., like tweeting, oh, wow, like these. And him and Kirk Cousins have really been hooking up well together. The thing about the NFL, and this is with any team, you have to close the deal. You have to close games out, okay? And it drives me crazy when I see analytics. Let's say like on a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars, we see 6 games they lost by 1 score. Like we're supposed to be impressed, Mac. Oh, they're about to turn the corner. They're losing all these close games. We heard that about the Lions last year, and people need to tell us, well, if they lost all these close games last year, that means they're going to start winning them this year. And even yours truly buys into that once in a while. But a lot of times it doesn't happen. They lose the close games one year, then they lose it the next year. It's like a losing mentality. Like I said before, there are no moral victories anymore unless it's a terrible team that's nothing is expected of them. You could maybe let that first year they lose a number of close games. They're not going to go anywhere anyway, so they're showing promise. But once you get that out of your system, your moral victories in the beginning, that should be the end of it. You shouldn't carry over to the next year. And you take Mac Jones. This is his second year, the Patriot quarterback. He had a good rookie year. He got off to a slow start this year. Some people like you, Mac, were calling for the backup Zappy to come in for him. I didn't see it, but, okay, fine. You and some others called for that. Mac Jones, for most of the game yesterday until the fourth quarter, he was playing really well. He was opening the field. He looked like a legitimate top-of-the-line starting quarterback. But then all of a sudden, he can't do anything right. Punt, interception, receiver wide open, misses him. He didn't close the deal out, so I don't want to hear his overall numbers. If you look at his numbers, his stats, they're going to look very good. You're going to think Mac Jones played a good game. 75% of the game he did. He looked really, really good, but he didn't close the deal. So I don't want to hear about it. It's like the pitch in baseball. He, pitches 5 shutout innings, and then in the 6th inning, he gives up 4 runs and they take him out. I don't want to hear, well, he was really good for 5 innings. Bottom line, your team's in a hole when you took him out. Mac Jones had a chance to win the game for the Patriots at the end, to do the little extra, and he just didn't close the deal.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the defensive side really quick. That did not look like a Bill Belichick defense. I mean, they're normally a team that keeps their number one receivers in check. They normally put unbelievable pressure on the opponent. Jadon's been having a great year. So I think it was 86%. The 86% Bill Belichick normally keeps 86% last game where they were scoring on Bill Belichick. So Bill Belichick against a veteran quarterback, not as good as against a rookie quarterback, Jack.
No. There's a difference between Kirk Cousins and Zach Wilson. And listen, Kirk Cousins has his critics, none more than Jim Jeffcoat was. He's on the Sunday show. For whatever reason, he hates Kirk Cousins. I mean, maybe not personally, but he's not a Kirk Cousins fan. But Kirk Cousins been around a while. I mean, what's Bill Belichick going to throw at him that he hasn't seen before? But you're right. Somehow Bill Belichick can rattle these young novice quarterbacks, but there are exceptions. You want to know something, Mac? If a young quarterback's destined to be elite, Bill Belichick isn't going to phase him much more than any other coach will. If he goes against a Justin Herbert, if he goes against Joe Burrow, those guys are going to get it done. He's troubled to it to an extent. But, it depends on the quarterback, the amount of experience, what he could read it all. I'm coming to the conclusion, Mac, with quarterbacks. I think it's extra important to have a quarterback who's a supreme runner like a Justin Fields, because they can outrun mistakes. Okay, when things break down, you let them run. And that's part of the problem, I think, with the Jets that they had with Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is mobile. He can run. He gets in trouble. Let him run. I understand it kind of messes up your offense. The receivers don't know where to go. The blockers might not know where to go at times. Everything is out of whack. I kind of understand that. But, these coaches are obsessed with keeping their quarterback in the pocket, and if you have a mobile quarterback, let him do what he does best. Don't be so scared of injuries. I mean, certain quarterbacks you keep in the pocket, like I mentioned Tua. I mean, his mobility is limited compared to the guys I mentioned, but let these guys kind of take off and do their thing.
The only problem with that, Jack, is that they don't become a complete quarterback. They don't have to learn how to read the defenses. They don't have to, go with a certain with a game plan that has them reading defenses, calling audibles. They won't read these things because they'll just take off with the ball. And I mean, if I'm coaching somebody, I want them to be able to come in the line of scrimmage, identify the defense, call audible when they have to. But to me, I don't know why you're smiling. I think that
I'm smiling not at you, Mac.
Okay.
I'm thinking of a boxing story with George Foreman. I'm sorry, with no disrespect. Okay. They used to say with George Foreman, the way you're saying quarterbacks have to learn how to play the position, and they can't learn that way. So Foreman's trainer, Dick Sadler, answered the critics who said Foreman doesn't know how to fight. And Dick Sadler said, I hope George never learns how to fight. The only thing I care is to hear the ring announcer say the winner by a knockout and still world heavyweight champion, George Foreman.
There you go.
Byron, you probably wonder what this is about. You joined the middle of a conversation where I was saying quarterbacks who are mobile, who can run, just let them do their thing at this point because it's a new era. And Mac is saying, but then they're never going to learn to really be a good quarterback, read defenses. So we have a difference in philosophy. Mac believes you want to keep them in the pocket to learn a lot, too, because they have to learn at some point. I'm all for letting a guy do his thing, especially since the rules protect quarterbacks who go down. I was referring to Zach Wilson. If nothing else, he's a really good runner. So he gets in some trouble. Let him take off. I know it confuses the receivers, the blockers, and everything is out of whack when he takes off. But that's his strength. Don't try to make someone something they're not. But Mac feels they got to learn to read defenses and all, So, a little difference in philosophy.
What do you think?
And I think this day and time, this day and time, you don't hardly see a complete quarterback like you used to because they rushing them. They kind of inexperienced. They don't have time to get a good feel for the whole game. And I think when you coming out of college and you go get in the NFL, there's two different levels of play and style. So a lot of these guys ain't quite ready yet. So it take them more than a year or two to get adjusted to the style of play in the NFL.
But my point is Justin Fields can outrun mistakes. He gets in trouble. He does his thing. He's smart enough, to go down, but he's injured right now. So,
and that's another factor, injuries. I mean, these guys got to learn how to play with different elements for his injuries because, they throw the ball 80 times a game now versus 60 back in the day. And I mean, versus 60 plays. Sometimes they throw the ball sometimes 50 times, 39, 40 times.
Yeah. Byron, Mac needs to be reassured by you that the Giants are going to make the playoffs now. Mac's starting to worry now.
What I'm happy about with the Giants is now they know how to play as a team. And I think once they get some key pieces, like a couple of receivers, get that tight end, and become more, total of talent-wise, they playing great football without talent.
There's 6 games to go. They've lost their last 2. They're not playing great football, Byron. They lost at home to the Lions the game before last.
I know, but they didn't have no weapons. That's what I'm saying. They bring in 2 or 3 more key guys. I mean, they can get 2 or 3 key guys. They'll be right there because you know what? They play hard. They know how to play, and they play the way the Giants used to play, tough football.
Yeah, but playing tough is great and all, Byron, but you got to win the football games. We can't, we're not going to, as Jack says, there's no moral victories in anymore. They're going to have to go. They're going to if they do make the playoffs, which now I don't think they're going to, Byron. And I'm a big Giant fan. I want them to go to the playoffs, but I don't think they are. I don't think this team right now is a team that can beat the Eagles, that can beat the Cowboys, that can beat. I don't even think they can beat the Commanders right now.
Yeah, and to lose 2 games against the Cowboys, I was hoping that they could split a game against the Cowboys, and they might squeeze into it as a wild card, but it's this game. We'll see, but I just like their style of play. I like the way the coach have mentally prepared them and got them ready to play football, which they never had before. You can see the whole different morale of the team. They played a great first half yesterday. And so, I'm excited about the future of the Giants. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I still think they're going to make the playoffs.
Well, I mean, Barkley, and of course this has something to do with the offensive line, of course, but he only got, 32 yards.
39 yards, 11 carries and 39 yards.
39 yards. That's their weapon.
Yeah.
And if Barkley doesn't do it, the Giants aren't going to do it. Daniel Jones looked okay. I mean, he made a good throw to Slayton, but he missed a lot of people, Byron. So I mean, they both got contracts coming up. If you're the owner right now, are you going to offer them both good big contracts? I wouldn't.
Well, I think they've been there long enough, and what they've been through, I can see them offering them good contracts just because they committed both of them first-round draft choices, both of them decisions that we made for us being a part of our team and the growth of our team. And right now, they seasoned and mature veterans. I think now I would offer them a contract because of what they're doing this year, based off of what they bring to the table, their leadership. And I think they're doing a lot off the football field, too. So I think it's a total package that you should sign these guys.
Well, you're putting them in the same group, Barkley and Jones, as far as value goes, different situations. Saquon Barkley, I would offer a big deal to multi-year deal. Daniel Jones, no. I'll give him maybe a 1-year deal, and it won't be a top quarterback money. No one is going to want him otherwise. No one's going to sign Daniel Jones to a big deal, another team, if he goes elsewhere. I mean, who's he going to sign with, the Carolina Panthers? Come on. I mean, it's Daniel Jones. New Orleans Saints aren't going to offer him big money to be a franchise quarterback. Thinking Daniel Jones hasn't proven he could be a franchise quarterback. No one's going to take a chance on him for that. No one.
This year, yesterday he was 21 of 35, 228. He's becoming mature enough to manage the game as well as I think he getting it now, and I think he have running capability as well. So he's not one of he doing some good things. I mean, he's not he playing error-free football for us, not throwing interceptions and things like he did previously. You can see the growth. You can see the maturity.
I'm glad you can.
I just think he needs some more weapons. If he had a couple more weapons, though, Jack, I'm telling you, he would be. I mean, he didn't have a real bad. He haven't done nothing to lose games this year.
It's his 4th year there with the Giants quarterbacking. So I want to hear weapons. They haven't had weapons for 4 years.
He's still under 20. He's still under 27 years old. So I'm still saying that there's a lot left. There's
maybe, but not to offer any type of big deal to him that's going to be long term. Maybe bring him back next year. Let's see. I mean, if there are no better options, you want to come back with him next year, but not to put big money on him.
And I think too that you have to quarterbacks. It takes 3 to 4 years to really get in the game and really. I mean,
it's his 4th year. It's his 4th year.
But still, though, it still take a little time. Look at what he had for his coaches. He hadn't had consistently good coaches to teach him anything.
Jack, he has a point there. I mean, he really, I know you think it's an excuse, but when they're changing coaches all the time, you can't get down an offensive system. There's no one there to guide you. I mean, it's to me, it's a mess right now.
Look at the receivers. Have you had a Pro Bowl receiver, Jack? No, he haven't.
Wasn't OBJ with him early in his career?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. That's an elite receiver.
But still, though.
They got him. Galladay, didn't they get him receivers?
Galladay hadn't done that since he's been over there.
Maybe because Jones isn't getting him the ball.
Let me ask you.
Get him a good receiver and see what he can do with him. I mean, you need a receiver that when you get a good receiver, you know he's being doubled by the defense. Now that's when you have a good receiver.
Let me ask you a question. Are you tired of hearing OBJ all the time? I mean, yesterday, the OBJ Bowl. Who's he going with? Who cares? I don't care where that has nothing to do with the game. I mean, I almost threw my shoe at the TV, Byron. I mean, I was so mad. I mean, come on. I want to enjoy the football game. I want to watch what's going on in the football game. I don't care what OBJ is tweeting right now.
Yeah. And it's really taken away from the people that want to enjoy turkey, eating, enjoying the game. Yeah. You're exactly right. This guy, he's not bigger than the game. Not one person bigger than the game anyway. So, yeah, just let him sign with who he signed with. Let's move on.
Right. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are bigger than the game.
Well, they made the game what it is, but they're part of the big game.
Yeah, they're part of history. That's all they're part of.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Jack heard that Aaron Rodgers might come to the Jets, and he's all excited now. He's got his poster guy coming and playing for the Jets, and now he's pretty excited, Byron.
Well, Aaron Rodgers has had difficulty with his thumb. That's why the year's been not going the way, as planned.
So if Aaron Rodgers don't come out there and deliver a Super Bowl, what would you say then, Jack? I mean,
well, no, listen, to Aaron Rodgers, let's see. I don't think Green Bay is going to part from him. They don't know what Jordan Love can do. And, it's kind of complicated right now. What do you think of Zach Wilson? I'm sure Mac was going to bring this up. Being made inactive for the Jets.
I think that's the thing to do with him because he needs to understand that it's not a silver spoon. That's not a part of the NFL. You got to come in and learn. You got to produce, and you got to make good things happen. It's all about win. If you're not winning, you're not being saying the right thing coming out of your mouth and things like that. Then you can't make it in the NFL. You can't become a leader. I mean, what he should have done, called Joe Namath up, talk to him every day. I heard him and Aaron Rodgers good friends. Well, have that type of mentality as a quarterback so you can learn the whole concept of the game. And And right now, you can't say certain things and you the leader of the team.
Yeah. And, I mean, when you say it's not your fault or the defense, no, and you just keep saying no, and you're missing wide running backs or wide receivers,
Yeah.
I mean, just overthrowing them. I mean, the guy's wide open. He's just throwing it over his head out of bounds. I mean, he's got to learn how to. And Jack said that maybe, New York and him will get. I don't think he's going to make it in New York, Byron. I don't think you've got to have a certain type of attitude to play in New York, like Eli Manning did. I mean, very humble. Derek Jeter, very, very humble. It's it's the team. It's about the team. I let down the team. They take one for the team all the time. That New York press will get to you, Byron.
It'll eat you up. It'll eat you up, and I think that's what I say. That's when you have to know what you're dealing with for that media, because that media will tear you up, and if you're not ready for it, this is what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was one game. Just keep in mind, they did beat the Bills the week before, and people weren't calling for Zach Wilson's head after they beat the Bills. I mean, everything was okay. It was just 2 of the last 3 games were against New England, and he was awful in those games. And I think it struck people the wrong way by him being asked, did he feel he let the defense down? And he said no. He just answered the wrong way.
Yep.
Had he said he did, I've been awful. I feel terrible wasting a great effort by those guys. They deserve a lot better. I think that kind of ticked people off. But Byron, what I was telling Mac before, I think the Zach Wilson, I don't even want to call it a benching because he's inactive. I've never heard of anything like this. It's as if they're suspending him with pay for doing what? He didn't do anything bad to get suspended. He maybe wasn't as diplomatic as he should have been, but he didn't badmouth anyone else. They're giving him a reset. But I just, I just don't get it. What they're doing. I mean, let him be in uniform at least.
Exactly. I think you got to handle it a little bit better, and I think too you got to have somebody over there that can mentally prepare him as well, because it goes with the territory. I mean, New York market, period, it's the number one market to play in, and if you don't say the right thing and do the right thing, then it's totally can be disruptive. And I don't know if they handle it with the right matter. I think they should handle it different. I think you don't go ahead and suit him up and let him play out, learn the game from within. I mean, that's part of it.
But what's he doing now? I don't get it. The coaches are preparing for the next game against Chicago. They don't have time to spend with Zach Wilson during the week. I don't get it. You're helping him reset. There's no one to spend time with him. They got to concentrate on the game. So what's Zach Wilson? I guess he's in uniform during the week at practice. And that's an awkward thing. Everyone knows he's not going to be playing. He's like irrelevant. And if you want this guy to maybe be a quarterback of the future, still a leader, you don't do it. You have him be in uniform. You have him enthusiastic. You have him on the sideline encouraging Mike White and Joe Flacco if he's not going to play, showing he's into the game, show him encouraging his teammates, part of it. So what's he going to do Sunday? Is he going to be in street clothes in the uniform on the sideline? Is he going to be in the stands? I mean, that's a bad look. Imagine that guy.
Well, last time he was in the press box.
Yeah, I mean, are they going to tell him to suit up while he's not allowed to suit up if he's inactive? I don't get it. I don't get this.
This is something new to me. I just think too that the NFLPA might have to step up and make sure that certain things for as rules and guidelines and regulations might be happening, because evidently he's gonna have somebody with him for his mentoring, guiding him and holding his hand, because it's something missing. They see something that needs to be in place, and they're trying to correct it and get it corrected right now. I just think they might have a mental coach or counselor with him all the time. I don't know.
No, something's going on behind the scenes. I don't know. Is it the owner, the GM, the coach? But they're not all on the same page. Someone is ordering this. Now, maybe Robert Salah's so fed up with Zach Wilson, he's told Joe Douglas, the GM, we can't win with this guy. I don't want to play him. But Joe Douglas is trying to tell him, look, we have to do this or that at least, because it took him a couple of days to come to this decision. And I don't know, did the owner send word down? I don't want him playing. I don't know what the heck is going on, but something is going on internally that we don't know about.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. Now, it might be something in the film room, game room, and something that he's not doing. That's why they made that decision. It was something that we don't know that's going on through the week and doing practice or whatever that have affected that team.
You would imagine that it's the coach. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I saw some clips of the locker room. Mm-hmm. The players are really upset with him. I mean, the defense was saying, what do you mean no? That you don't owe us an apology or something. I think it has something to do with the locker room, Byron.
Yeah, probably so. And probably his relationship with some of the players, the receivers. It could be it's a miscommunication relationship that's going on that we don't know and they hadn't talked about. Exactly.
Like Garrett Wilson is complaining. He didn't mention Zach Wilson by name. And I'm thinking, Garrett, you're an outstanding talent, but you're a rookie here. You shouldn't be taking this role complaining. You're a rookie. You got to know your place a little more.
Exactly, and that's probably what's going on. They got to control. They got to take control, take this team and control it because there's too much chaos going on.
Yeah. So let's get to one of the other games, Byron. Buffalo at Detroit. I know you took Detroit to win that game.
All three of our picks lost. But all three of them could have won the game.
Yeah. Yes. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Buffalo.
Byron loves moral victories. He loves
Buffalo comes back to beat Detroit. Me and Jack kind of went at it a little bit. Listen, I think Detroit played really well. I think they gave them a real good game. What are you going to do? You got Josh Allen over there, broken, hurt thumb and all, throwing down the sidelines or upfield to his number one receiver. Listen, Detroit gave it all they could give, and there's no moral victories, but they're building something for the future there, Byron.
Hey, they're building a toughness, a team overall morale. I mean, Josh Allen really took over the game himself. He had 10 carries on 78 yards, and of course, he did what he had to do to win games. And that might be something that some of these young quarterbacks need to look at, see how Josh is playing. He's doing whatever it takes, he's really upset. Last week he was upset after they lost the game or whatever the case may be. But I'm telling you, he played the game the way modern day quarterbacks play the game. Whatever it takes, he's showing that, showcasing that, and that's the way you want to play. But you have to give Jeff Goff credit for what he's doing with Detroit. People have wrote him off, and he's playing great football as well. He's a key factor to the success of Detroit. I mean, to win 3 games in a row and to come back and almost win that game yesterday, I salute Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions, because that's the way you want your team to play. Don't nobody want to play Detroit and Washington Commandos right now, because both of those teams it's hard to beat.
Yeah. As a wide receiver, Byron, who would you rather catch the ball from? Josh Allen, who will throw it through your chest, or Jared Goff, who throws a little bit easier, a little more touch on the ball?
I think I'd rather have Josh Allen, because I know that he go put it in there, and then he can throw long. And so I love those deep balls too. So of course you're going to play with Josh because of the way he take off and run, and then he scrambled. When he's scrambling outside the pocket, that's when you can get open too. And I was the type of receiver that loved that scramble drill, to where you can go find the area that's open and try to get there, and he throw it in there.
Okay. So Byron, of course, I'm taking a look at the standings real quick. Philadelphia is still with only one loss. Dallas Of course, now in second by themselves. Giants falling off to 7-4, and Washington just sitting there waiting. I mean, Philadelphia is in the playoffs. Dallas, I think, is in the playoffs. Giants might make a wild card team. Washington, what do they got? They got 3 games they're behind Philadelphia right now. Can they win this division?
I don't think Washington can win the division, but Washington might take a stab at making a wild card. I mean, the way they playing, the way they're turning that ship around over there, you got to watch out for them. I mean, they playing great football. I mean, it's games that they should have beat the Vikings a couple of weeks ago. There's little things that, you can build your team around, and you can remind yourself, this is where we are. And you look at the schedule and then play good, tough, mental football one game at a time. And I think that's their approach.
Yeah. The NFC East surprised everybody this year. Probably the toughest division in the NFC. Listen, NFC least to the NFC beast, right? I mean,
exactly.
They have really turned it around there. A lot of different coaching styles there, Byron. You got the Dallas coach who's kind of lets the defensive guy call his game plan. He kind of calls the plays. You've got the Commandos there, and it looks like it's more a Rivera team than anybody else. Of course, Dable, very emotional. I mean, I thought he was going to hit the referee yesterday. He just jumping up and down and screaming at him and everything. And of course, Philadelphia with that brand new coach who seems to be a very, very good offensive minded coach. So if you're gonna look at the coach and the head coaches in this division right now, who do you think's got the best approach?
Man, that is a good question. I think I like all 4 different types of approaches because they're working right now for those teams. And then when you look at the approaches of the coaches, of course you have to look at the quarterbacks and you have to look at the defense. And the X factor might boil down to sometimes special teams. Which team will have a good special team approach? And I don't see the Giants with a good special team approach. You see the Cowboys got great potential in their special teams, and I think the Redskins is so-so with their special team. But I think overall the team that really showing good consistency is Philadelphia because of the style of coaches that they have. And but I just see that all 4 teams have been very impressive this year, very surprising, like you said earlier. And I think, too, that it might go down to the last week. The one thing that I always like about the NFC East, when they play division games, it can go either way. I don't care. You can't sometimes say the Cowboys gonna go and beat the Giants 30-10. Those days are over with this year. So I like what's happening with the NFC East. I mean, the teams are almost balanced, and I think too that it's not a whole lot of advantage. You don't see a whole lot of advantage for one team.
You mean to tell me, Byron, you don't see a clear advantage for the Eagles being better than the Giants, the Cowboys being better than the Giants? They're very even. You're saying? The good example
is the Commandos went to Philadelphia, and what happened?
They did win. They did surprise me. They did win there, but
that's what I'm talking about. Division games. When I played in that division, I don't care. You don't look at the records. That you go in and you have to play those games, and with the best prepared team's gonna win those games.
Well, we were talking about the head coaches a minute ago. I think the ball is the type of coach Daniel Jones needs right now. Right, he's very. He's very hard on him. It looks like where you look at the Dallas Cowboy head coach, and he's kind of he's got Dak Prescott. He's kind of more easy with the Cowboys. So with Dak, what is it, Jack?
You and Byron a year ago were bragging about Joe Judge being the type of coach that Daniel Jones, the rest of the Giants needed, because you guys were impressed he'd have him run laps around the field and do push-ups for punishment.
Yeah.
You guys were so impressed Joe Judge was the type of coach this team needs. You were saying, look how it turned out. Now, Brian DeBall has done significantly better to this point, but
he's different.
Let's wait and see
Can I say this?
how the rest of the year goes. If the Giants finish up 8-9 this year, don't turn around and say Brian DeBall has done a great job if they fall apart here down the stretch.
Hey, Jack, can I tell you this? The one thing that we talked about Joe Judge was he couldn't take control of the team when I just think he didn't have the respect of the overall team or the morale of the team. Now, what I liked about Joe Judge was his disciplinary and what he couldn't do, but what Brian Daboll, what he's done is he came in. You don't see Daniel Jones making a mistake.
He didn't even want Daniel Jones to be his quarterback, Brian DeBall. Daniel Jones was forced on him by Giant ownership who wanted to straighten Daniel Jones out. So he got the job based on that he could straighten him out. He wanted to bring in Mitch Trubisky, who was his quarterback when he was the offensive coordinator, Brian DeBall at Buffalo. But he couldn't. But Mitch Trubisky knew he'd have to be a backup the year. They wanted him anyway, Mitch Trubisky. He told him, Mitch, sit tight. Let's see what Daniel Jones does. If he doesn't do it. But Mitch Trubisky wanted to start immediately. That's why he went to the Steelers.
Jack, you see this?
So the one thing that we can say about DeBall is his philosophy worked.
Everyone has a good philosophy in this league.
Jack, I got to challenge you right now because you don't know what you're talking about at all. Listen, Brian DeBall is not the same as Joe Judge. You see him in the practices. He's laughing. He's joking. He's having a good time with the players. He puts his game face on when it's time for game time. That's all. But behind the scenes, he's laughing and joking with the players. He's not doing a fumble drill like Joe Judge did, jumping in the wet.
And he's not threatening the players. Joe Judge, he might cut you. Whereas Brian DeBall is saying, "Hey, if you commit to this game, we're going with you. You my guy." And guys go in with more confidence, and that's why they play better for certain coaches.
And you brought up the point of special teams. I think the special teams has lost Giants maybe 2-3 games this year, Byron. I mean, they're having a problem. Who's that guy that keeps dropping the ball? Number 80. What is that? I'm trying to remember his name real quick.
Is it Roberts?
Yeah, Robinson or Roberts.
Yeah.
I mean, why do they put him back there anymore? What are you doing? I mean, get anybody out there to receive a punt besides him. You got receivers, you got running backs, anybody but this guy.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Anyway, it's just been. I'm just very frustrated this year, Byron, as you could tell. And
so Jack, I want to congratulate you. They told me that you were winning the pick. You done picked the majority of I guess between you, Jim, and Matt. So what you been reading more? What's going on with you?
I don't take much credit. We have one of our listeners, Pickles, who's outdoing me, I'm sure. I mean, it's like I'm kind of winning. You know what it is between Mac and Jim Jeffcoat? I'm in first place in a weak division. I'm barely on the 500. It's like I'm like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their division. They look terrible this year, but then you look at the standings. It's not one of this. It's called the this Mac and Jack Lease show or something. I don't know, but it's a weak division this year. I might take off, though.
All I can say, y'all better let Jim win because I don't want to hear his mouth.
all right.
Jim, let me tell you, Jim knows his football, but what Jim doesn't know, believe it or not, he's not an expert on pass rushes. He doesn't know. I wouldn't use Jim to scout a pass rusher. He just doesn't get it. Jim didn't want to draft Hutchinson on the Lions first overall. I was pleading with him. He says, oh, no, he likes the Jaylen Brown pick. I was telling him about Thibodeau with the Giants. Yeah. Jim thought he was headed to the Hall of Fame. I told him the kid is a bust. You know, in that regard.
He is not a
and
bust.
how's it turning out?
He is not a
I told him Micah Parsons was the best play in the draft last year. I told Jim. Jim didn't even want him on the Cowboys, I don't think.
Listen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You proved him wrong. That's good.
Yeah.
Thibodeau is not a bust. Thibodeau is not a bust.
Coach, he loved playing on the bottom of the pile or something. I don't know what Jim
Byron. Jack has been sitting here bad-mouthing Thibodeau since the draft. Thibodeau is going to be very good. He puts a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks. He pressured Dak Prescott a few times during the game. Yeah, and listen, this guy can play the run and the pass. He's got some speed. He never gives up. The motor's always running. And you know, he makes that defensive line a little bit better. In fact, the defensive coordinator says that he is the can opener that opens the can of whoop. You know what? So there you go.
And I agree. That's who I picked anyway when on the draft. I said he was going to be the Giants pick. And I think, you know,
Giants should have taken Garrett Wilson. They would have had their receiver. They would have been much better off.
No,
I'm glad he went to the Jets.
The best available player was Thibodeau.
Yeah, I see the way. Yeah, I see that now. Yeah.
We've opened Jack's eyes finally. So
yeah,
the season ain't over with either, Jack.
You look at the box score from yesterday's game. The man had the least amount of tackles on the Giant defensive unit. He makes it look good. You know, after the quarterback releases the ball, he sprints close to him and says, "Oh, I nearly got him. Oh, darn it." You know, and people buy into that. Oh, he just had him in his grasp.
You know, we talk about getting Too Tall Jones on with Jack. I think I got to get Thibodeau on with Jack too.
Thibodeau will be a decent situational player down the road. You'll put him in certain schemes and this. He'll have a career in the NFL. I don't mean he'll be out.
He will make the Pro Bowl next year.
Wow. And talking about Giants linemen, how about Dexter Lawrence this year?
Oh, man, he had a Pro Bowl year.
Oh my God, he's between him and the big cat in the middle there. It's very hard to run against the Giants.
Yeah, and that's been a difference maker too. That defensive line has really improved.
But Dexter Lawrence comes up with these foolish penalties at times that cost the Giants. But he's a heck of a player.
Yeah, definitely. They need to get that corrected. He needs to correct that part.
Yeah.
Are you in the airport, Byron? Are you ready to fly somewhere?
I'm in my hometown. I'm in the weight room. I'm in the weight room. I was gonna come down here and work out, but I didn't want Jack to start sweating when he seen my muscles and stuff.
I work out too. I mean, it's like
I'm in the weight room down here. I'm at the hotel in Texarkana, my hometown, and we came down here yesterday. It rained the whole time. I mean, rain. And I had to rush out of Dallas because I know they were gonna be acting crazy in the wet city over there.
Yeah, well, Byron with our weather report from down south. So there you go. Byron, are you going to be able to stick with us through the show, or?
I got to get back up out of here. It's not really comfortable in here either, but I feel like I'm echoing.
Listen, I know those workout rooms at those hotels, Mac. They got 2 treadmills, an exercise bike, and then they got a rack of a few free weights, 5, 10, 15-pound weights. There you go. I'm used to those, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they got a little pool slide out here. But yeah, it's I'm gonna get over here and get on these weights and stuff. But I was on that's what I was on right there. I was on sitting on the
Listen, he has a room to himself. If someone came in, I would be too embarrassed to do this show.
You know what though, Jack? What I love about coming down here, I'll be the only one in the weight room. That just goes to show me we need more committed people. I
agree. Yeah, tell me about it. That happens all the time with me. I'm the only one in there.
Yeah.
You know what I hate, guys? You know, I used to go down and lift weights at the Gold Gym, they called it down here. And everybody right after January would come down there. You couldn't get your reps in because the machines and the weights were all taken. And by March, you know, after the holidays, they were all gone. And I mean,
I remember Gold Gym.
Yeah.
So, I remember Gold Gym.
There you go. I mean,
Yeah, this is my bench. These are the racks. You see the
Yeah.
racks?
Sim, yeah.
So I'm gonna get on them weights and try to find me one muscle. See if I can find me one muscle and see if I can. Then that way, when Jim wanna hit the golf ball, he don't know this is my golf ball. I'm working on my accuracy with my irons and stuff. He don't understand that. And don't you tell him my secret either,
Right.
Jack.
No, Jim and myself, we keep it loose. Jim doesn't listen to me, and I respect Jim as a person. He's a great human being, but I sometimes just question his football knowledge on the defensive side of things. Offense,
Wow.
he knows about. Defensively, Jim's too overly enthusiastic.
But you know what? Since
He
he's been
didn't
around
think
me, he learned a
Hutchinson was
lot.
much. He didn't think Hutchinson was much, Jim, to begin the year. I mean, how do you argue with that?
You know what? Sometimes you just have to write it down for Jim. Maybe you need to get a piece of pen and paper and write it down for him.
He said with Hutchinson, oh, he needs a lot of work. I said, Hutchinson's ready to roll right now.
Listen,
when a guy's not doing well, Jim always says, tells me I don't understand how fast the game is. It takes time. Well, it's not too fast for Hutchinson. It wasn't too fast for Micah Parsons.
And
These
both
are
of
the
those
same
guys
I played against in college.
Hey, both of those guys gonna get the NFL Rookie of the Year because Michael got it last year, and Hutchinson gonna get it this year.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, you guys are just sounding off on Jim. He's not even here to defend himself.
Yeah, I know it.
I mean,
hey, we got to get Jack a red flag as well. See if he can throw it on there.
Yeah, he needs one.
I don't want Jim on the draft show next year that we're doing. I say we ban Jim from it. What's Jim's every analysis with Jim? He's picking the wrong guys.
Listen, oh man, Jack, that's terrible.
That's
so
terrible.
Byron, do you got to go? Can you stick with us?
I got to go. I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. But
all right.
But you know, I enjoyed it. Thank you guys for having me again. And
love having you on.
Them doggone Giants gonna make. I had a nightmare last night, Jack.
You did?
On what? What was it?
The Giants should have won the game.
The Giants shouldn't have won the game. They lost to a better team. They
need to come out and play the second half like they played the first half. That's all.
Yes. Okay, Byron. Well, you have a good one. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving, and we will see you next week, my friend.
Okay, I see you guys.
Yeah, Byron. Take care.
So there you go, folks. Byron Williams, who gives us, we love having people that played the game come in, which is a lot of podcasts don't give you that. Some kind of expertise, locker room field, where they're got their finger on the pulse of what's going on there. So Jack, while we got a minute, I'm going to head and take a promotional break where we show all our promos on the great network of NESSP. It's going to be quick, Jack. So, get back as soon as you can. I know you got things you do. You run around doing certain things there. So, wait a minute. Change it. Well, we'll have Keith wait. Yeah, we'll bring Keith on back. But I don't want to make Keith wait. Good morning, Keith. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Good morning, gentlemen. I could have waited. That's fine.
You messed up my break.
You're more than welcome to take a break. I don't want Jack to suffer for the next 58 minutes.
I was looking forward to a break. I'm on the verge of having it. I'm so close to having it. You're sending me on my way, and now you bring Keith on.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I mean, that was...
You can feel free to take a little break.
Listen, I'm always happy to talk to Judge Contract with Keith. That's the highlight.
Oh my God!
Watch Mac's head explode.
Jesus, Keith, I want to get into the Thanksgiving game, especially the Patriots. Yeah, that was probably the most exciting game of the day. I mean, they both opened up their offenses. I think if Zappy was in there at the end, the Patriots might have pulled it out.
Oh, yeah, because Mac Jones had a horrible game yesterday. You're right. I mean, yeah.
Well, I mean, at the end he did. Keith, listen, I give him credit. He was throwing the ball very well. You guys don't have the greatest receivers out there, and he did a really good job. Your defense, though. I mean, the defensive guru, Bill Belichick, was thoroughly outcoached. The defense wasn't. I mean, they didn't have the coverages. They weren't really stopping. They weren't stopping them. It was a tough game for the Patriots.
Defensively, they played very poorly, for sure. They played well against the run, but they could not. They didn't have an answer for Jefferson. And I'm convinced after watching Jefferson the last 4 or 5 weeks, he's the best player in football right now. You can't stop him. He's a danger from anywhere on the football field. And the Patriots had no answer. Jones, they tried to cover him one-on-one with Jones, and that didn't work out. They tried to double cover him. That didn't work out. He'd catch the ball and 2 guys would hit him and he'd still hang on to the football. Just a great, great, great football player. I was a little disappointed, and this might play into it. The Patriots probably, I didn't see the time of possession, but I'm guaranteeing you Minnesota probably had the time of possession in this game. The Patriots really gave up on the run, probably because Minnesota's got one of the worst pass defenses in football, but they gave up on the run very early. They only ran the ball, 11 times all day. Stevenson got 7 carries, did get another 9 catches, but they really were relying on the passing game yesterday. And for, 3 quarters, it worked out fine. But the problem is, and you saw it on the last 2 drives, Mac Jones throws a great play throws a great ball on the second to last drive right to the corner, almost to the pylon. Aguilar is going to be there all by himself if he doesn't get himself all turned around, loses the ball to the lights, and can't get to the football. Yeah. It was a great throw, and that really is an indicator of what the Patriots are dealing with these wide receivers. They don't have a guy who can go get that ball.
Yeah, I think that they didn't put enough pressure. They didn't put enough pressure on Minnesota's quarterback. They really he had pretty much a clean pocket the whole game. And if the Patriots are gonna do anything this year, they got to address that, Keith.
The keys of this game, you're right. The pressure on the quarterback was not good. And they have pressured the quarterback. They've only given up an average of like 12 points a game for the last 6 weeks before last night. Matthew Judon, they did a good job of taking Matthew Judon out of this game, I thought. So they did a really good job there. The Patriots have to. That's what allows the defensive backs to be as good as they've been. They got really good cornerbacks that I was worried about, and they played better because of the front 7 and the pressure they put on quarterbacks. And it's not all about sacks, right? Pressure is as important as sacks itself. And another place the Patriots just were awful, which they normally aren't. Special teams were terrible last night, awful. Yeah. And too many penalties. This is week after week. The penalties are just awful as well.
Well, isn't Joe Judge a special teams at Guru, supposedly?
He's not the special teams coach, though. He's the assistant head coach and assisting with the offense. Why
don't they let Joe Judge oversee it if that's his thing? I mean,
well, why is Patricia not coaching the defense either? That's his thing. So it's very weird the way they've set this up. But I'm not going to get it. I mean, Patricia's he's gotten better calling plays in that offense. The offense, you see Mac Jones, I think, getting more comfortable in that new offense. He hasn't had a chance really to get a lot of reps until recently because of his injury. So I think the offense is coming along. That's the thing I take away from last night. The defense is, if the defense can play as well as they played the last 6 weeks before last night, and the offense can continue to progress the way they did last night, I still think this can be a playoff team. We got to win 9 games. I said 9 games would get in, and I can see 3 more wins. But if it takes 10, it might get tougher. That means they need a split with Buffalo, or they need to beat Miami. So it gets a little tougher after that.
Bill Belichick normally has a very disciplined team, and that's what surprised me last night more than anything. I mean, they didn't look disciplined. And he normally has, he's great against the young quarterbacks. But I think Kirk Cousins, being an older quarterback, seeing defenses, could read what was going on and call them audibles. So, maybe they do need a defensive coach to be calling the plays instead of maybe Belichick's influence, Keith.
Well, they do. I mean, you got Steve Belichick and Gerard Mayo, who are, they don't have a coordinator on either side of the football, but they're the 2 main guys on defense. And maybe Stevie Belichick should take a step back and let Gerard Mayo come to the forefront there. And the discipline to me, Mac really comes into play with the penalties. That's where it really, you see undisciplined teams commit all these penalties, and it's week in and week out. They're just been awful on the penalty side.
So last week I messed up. I didn't have you on the college football. That's what we normally do with you. Jack ended up doing it afterwards. He did okay, but he's not keeping.
I thought we did some. Maybe we didn't.
No, we did. I forgot all about it. So this today I want to go over some of the things with you.
Sure.
The rankings haven't changed much. You got Georgia at number 1, Ohio State at number 2, Michigan number 3, Tennessee at number 4, USC at 10-1 is at number 5, LSU 9-2 is number 6, Clemson number 7 at 10-1, Alabama at 9-2, Tennessee at 9-2, and Oregon at number 10. You still think that, I think so anyway, that it's going to be Georgia and Ohio State in the national championship?
Well, if Ohio State takes care of business this week, yes. There's no guarantee that the second Big Ten team gets in. Depending, there's still chaos to happen. We don't know if TCU wins out. They could lose this weekend to Iowa State. They could lose in the Big 12 championship game. But if things stay to form, I would see Georgia. I like Ohio State this weekend because they're playing at home mostly, and I think they have an edge at quarterback. So Georgia, Ohio State, I think are locks. I do think TCU gets in. A lot of people, especially the SEC elitists, don't think they should get in, even if they're 13-0, which is just crazy.
Right.
But assuming things play out, the really interesting conversations are going to come about that 4th spot and who's going to get it. Does Michigan get considered, say they lose, or Ohio State if they lose this week? Are they considered? So you're going to have a 1-loss. Michigan or Ohio State, who didn't get to their championship game, theoretically going up against USC, who did get to their win their championship with 1 loss, and they're going to be battling each other. Clemson winning the ACC with 1 loss. All of those teams will come into this conversation against that 1-loss Michigan team. So that's where it's going to be kind of get interesting. And I'm rooting for as much chaos as possible because I want that 12-team playoff next year, or 24 at the latest, not 26. Because this is a year where it's wide open. And if you had a 12-team playoff this year, 11 of them would have a chance to win the national championship in my mind.
Keith, it depends on how bad a loss it is. Let's say Michigan, Ohio State. If it's a 1-point thriller, that helps the loser a great deal, I would think, as opposed to if they lost by 17 points.
It does. Ohio State could afford that kind of loss more than Michigan, though, because they do have the win over Notre Dame on their resume, and Michigan's got nobody outside of conference on their resume. I mean, they beat Hawaii, Colorado State, and maybe UConn. I don't remember who it was. I'm going to throw UConn in there. I think it might have been UConn. Now that I think about it.
Well, I mean, this is going to be the biggest game of the year for both teams. And as you said, Michigan, other than Ohio State, doesn't have strength of schedule. So, if Ohio State wins this, I still think they got a good shot at playing in the national championship. If Michigan loses this, I don't think they get in there at all. I don't think they play in the national championship.
No, they'll have a tough road. Now, again, they could get there. TCU loses this week to Iowa State. LSU loses to Texas A&M. All things that could happen. It's possible they won't fall far enough unless they get blown out. They won't fall far enough where they're not in the discussion after the league championship games. But the problem is you're not getting same problem Alabama has, and they do have 2 losses, which is obviously another strike against them. But not getting to your conference championship game makes it very hard for this committee to put these teams in. But it could happen. Losers of conference championship games get in. It's happened with Alabama and Georgia a couple of different times, but not if you don't get to your conference championship, it makes it very hard with 4 teams to say this team deserves to be there.
Yeah, you bring up Alabama, and of course you think Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach in the history of college, and I disagree with you a little bit, but that's beside the point. Alabama at 9-2, their defense is playing well. I'm still not sure their quarterback, Keith. I mean, I look at the quarterbacks coming through college a lot when we do this show, and I try to analyze what potential they have in the NFL. And I think the quarterback classes have been dreadful the last year, and I think they're going to be worse this year. So, what do you think? Do you think, first of all, Alabama, do they get to the national championship? And secondly, what do you think about the quarterback?
Do they get? I don't think they get the national championship unless, I mean, all kinds of chaos would have to happen for them to even be considered. It could happen. It's been a weird year, but I don't think they should be considered for the reasons I mentioned before. As far as Bryce Young goes, he's been playing hurt the second half of the season. Do I think he's going to make a difference on the next level? I don't think so.
Keith, I saw the analytics about the chances of teams making it into the playoffs, and Alabama's at something like 7% or thereabouts. Things are really going to have to bounce ridiculously right for them to make it.
Yeah, you need crazy things. You need LSU to lose this weekend to Texas A&M and then beat Georgia in the championship game. You might need Georgia to lose to Georgia Tech this week, which, again, I don't think that's going to happen. You need TCU to lose. You need Michigan. You maybe need the Michigan or Ohio State to lose the Big Ten championship game. TCU's got to. I mean, there's a lot of things got to happen for Alabama to have any shot.
We're destined for major controversy because someone is going to get left out. Especially Michigan beats Ohio State. I think Ohio State's getting in anyway. You know, as long as they lose a close game. See, USC, it's going to be hard to leave them out, but TCU is such a sentimental favorite that they're going to go in. But one university is going to be left out that's, has a heck of an argument to be in. It's going to be a major controversy, I could tell, is brewing.
TCU's probably got to be undefeated to get in. If they lose this week or in the championship, they'd be better off losing this week than in the championship game. But if they lose one of those games, I think they'll be out. Assuming, again, USC wins out and has one loss and they're the Pac-12 championship. That's where it gets interesting. USC could potentially be coming into the conversation with Clemson, with whoever loses the Big Ten game tomorrow, either Ohio State or Michigan. LSU potentially if they were to beat Georgia, because Georgia's getting in no matter what if they make the championship game, which they've already made the championship game. If they could lose the SEC championship game, as long as they don't lose at Georgia Tech tomorrow, they're getting in, win or lose. So USC comes in with a bunch of one-loss teams, some that have not even made their conference championship game. And there's a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot on this committee, who are not sold on West Coast football in the Pac-12 specifically. It's been much better, I think, this year, especially at the top. But the bottom of that league is really, really bad. That's the problem.
This is like one of those long equations, you see, on a chalkboard where they're trying to figure out, what's going to happen after pi, squared. It's very confusing. It becomes
much clearer. After this week, it'll become much clearer what's got to happen, right? Because USC USC really can help themselves. They beat Notre Dame because Notre Dame's been playing much better football. And because that's been the gripe about USC is they don't have quality wins, no top 25 wins. Now they beat UCLA. They got one. Oregon State is looking like a better win now because they've made it to the top 25. And if they beat Oregon this weekend, which is a distinct possibility, that's a better win for USC. Plus they got whatever win they have in the championship game. So their resume looks really good if they win out. It looks as good as anybody's in the country in my mind.
Well, you mentioned Notre Dame, and that's my team. And they did win 44-0 over Boston College. I think it looked like it was in the snow.
Second half, it started to snow, yeah.
Yeah. So, listen, I think the young coaches kind of, got it pulled together, and maybe they make a run next year, Keith.
I think, it's growing pains. Freeman's never been a head coach on any level. He's a great recruiter, which I think will, certainly help Notre Dame going forward. He's playing with Brian Kelly's players that didn't leave via the portal once he left. So I think, if you asked any Notre Dame fan after they lost at home to Marshall and Stanford, in the first few weeks of the season, would you be happy with a chance to finish 9-3 and win over a highly ranked USC team? They'd be ecstatic. Even 8-4, I think they'd be happy with. So, because it was looking like a bad season was on the way, and they've recovered nicely, play really good defense. This will be a fun game with USC this weekend because Notre Dame's offense is not, gangbusters, but USC's got one of the worst defenses you're going to see this year among good teams. They're really bad. So this will be a fun game.
It should be. Me and Jack have discussed bowl games in the past, and Jack really doesn't think the bowl games have any significance anymore. That they're kind of a waste of time. Me, I still like to follow the bowl games. I like to see teams that I don't get a chance to see during the year play. It's good for the players. It's good for the school. It gives them some kind of memories when they leave, Keith. I mean, do you think the bowl games still have significance?
I go back and forth on this. There's 40 bowl games, which is too many.
Yeah.
I don't need a pinstripe bowl. I mean, nobody cares. Here's the big thing. You did touch on it. It's good for the kids. It's good for the schools because they continue to get to practice, for sometimes a month longer than they would have. Otherwise, they're done. They cannot have organized practices anymore once their season's over. Making a bowl game, even if it's, whatever, the Cheez-Its has 2 bowl games this year. I don't know how you know which the difference is between the 2 of them. But there are, I still think the Rose Bowl is important, even if it's not part of the championship rundown. I still think the Orange Bowl and the Sugar Bowl and even a Cotton Bowl now, because you get that group of 6 or that group of 5 school in there, which is, by the way, up for grabs and going to be a lot of fun watching those games this weekend out of the American Conference, I think.
Yeah. You gave me a great idea, Keith, talking about the bowl games like the Pinstripe Bowl. The Yankees, as an incentive to sign Aaron Judge, could add the Judgment Bowl. It'll be called the Judgment Bowl, where he'll always be,
the Judgment Bowl. I like it.
They're kind of named after him. You bring 2 teams. They play in the stadium each year. They raise money for Aaron Judge's foundation. The Judgment Bowl, to try to get a little hook to get him to decide to come back with the Yankees.
I mean, it's funny. I went down on a college football show 2 weeks ago. I went through all the bowl games and said, out. I probably got rid of half of them, but it does, there are some incentives for the teams that make those games. There's nobody at them. Go watch some of these games. Oh, yeah. There's like 25% of the stands are full. Basically, it's to schedule, fill ESPN's schedule here through the month of December. But
I think they also get paid. They get some money for going to bowl games, right?
Oh yeah, everyone's got some monetary value tied to it. But that's split amongst all the teams in the conference too. Remember, so but it still matters.
I'm going to tell you guys, I like do the TV guide. You take like a Saturday college football. There's so many darn games. Some of these games, I wonder who's watching it outside of family and friends of the players. I mean, why would I mean, no disrespect to the games because they're good games. They're decent matchups. But when you have so much candy there to pick from, I mean, it's like
you miss
the elite games where that have playoff implications for the most part. Okay,
you missed the number one demographic.
Yeah.
You missed the number one demographic though, the gambler. That's who's watching these games, right?
Oh, I didn't think of that even.
There you go. Hey guys, I'm gonna take a quick break. Take care of a couple things I got to take care of, and I'll be right back. You guys carry on. I'll be back to bug you in a minute.
Sure.
Okay, now that we got Mac out of the way for the time being, we can talk about the Judge contract. He's meeting with the San Francisco Giants. He's met with them, and they're going all out to impress him. And he could feel, well, I'd like to come back and be a Yankee if they could come close to matching the offer. But once you meet with another team and you have the full red carpet treatment, Steph Curry's there, it's your hometown, and they give you a contract offer that's going to be more than what the Yankees are offering, even though Hal Steinbrenner says we're not going to be outbid. Wow, that's revealing. Not being outbid, would the Yankees be willing to go to $450 million for 10 years? Is that what he means? Would he really be willing to do that? And maybe Judge might be, and they're probably telling him, look, if the Yankees wanted you that bad, wouldn't they have signed you by now? You've been wanting this. Yeah.
In fairness, the Yankees have an offer on the table. Cashman said last Friday in a press conference that they have put an offer in front of Aaron Judge before he goes and talks to anybody else. Now, why would he just accept it? He's going to go talk to everybody else, or he wouldn't have gone to free agency, right? So my guess is the offer won't be good enough. The Yankees will probably reveal it so they can make Judge look bad. But will they? Again, they have to. Will they do it? Is a different question. Should they do it? The answer is absolutely yes. They should pay whatever it takes to get him back here.
You see, this is a challenge flag. This is a challenge flag. Soon as I leave, Jack's got to bring up Aaron Judge and all that stuff.
That would be rude not to answer.
I'm throwing this right at you. See, I threw it right at you. Listen, Aaron Judge.
If I'm asked,
if he wants to be a Yankee, then he's going to be a Yankee. We've covered this to nausea, Jack, since you always want to bring up when it first happened. Judge, I still think the Yankees' history, being a captain and playing for the greatest team in the history of sports, really, is incentive enough. He's going to get paid. He's going to get paid very well. So why are we still talking about this? Let's push on. Let's wait to the regular.
Because he's a free agent, Mac. It's all over the news. That's why we're talking about. Reality is set in now. He's a free agent. It's the big news in the free agent market. What's Judge going to do? Now, I know you still feel he should have taken the Yankees offer last spring. He absolutely. How much money does he need, you feel?
Right.
But it wasn't.
Just somebody willing to pay him.
Yeah, so let's see. I mean, how much the Giants are going to come up with a formal offer. And that offer might be, that might be out of the Yankees' comfort zone. Would Judge be willing to take a little less to stick with the Yankees? But the bigger question, if the offer is exactly the same, can we say with complete confidence he's going to pick the Yankees over the Giants? I can't say that with complete confidence. I'm saying that with a nervous confidence if the offer is the same.
But guess what? If he takes a big offer, there's only two teams that can outbid the Yankees and still be competitive on the field by being able to field a major league team around him, and that's the Mets and the Dodgers. The Giants can throw $400 million at him or more, but how they going to – they don't have unlimited resources like the Yankees, Mets, and Dodgers have. And they're not going to be able to put a competitive team around him, and that matters to Aaron Judge. He doesn't want to go there and lose 90 games a year.
You would think that. So, and we talk like Aaron Judge is the only baseball player in baseball. Listen, there's a lot of great.
He's the most important one in this market.
There's a lot of great players. A lot of great players in Major League Baseball that the Yankees could pick up for half of what it costs for Aaron Judge. I mean, you've got Ohtani out there right now who will cost.
They can't pick Ohtani up.
You missed a big point, though. He brings so much more. He means more to this team than just what he does on the field.
Oh, here you go.
He means that much to the franchise. He's homegrown. They will make money off of him for decades after not only he retires, but after he's dead, just like Mantle and Ruth and all these guys.
I will say this to back Mac up. Ohtani, I think, is a year away from free agency, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But I will say this for Mac. Ohtani's the one player that can replace Judge and have just every bit as big of a buzz as Judge. Even though he's not homegrown, Ohtani's the type that transcends the game to a degree. A true superstar. So if Ohtani comes to the Yankees, he could be slotted in as maybe even a bigger star than Judge, because of just his charisma and everything involved. So he's the one guy, but they would have to pay Ohtani like a good $50 million a year. I mean, that would be the thing. They'd have to pay him even more than I think they would Judge. And
I also have the unknown, and I don't know how he can do in New York. It's different playing in New York than playing. Listen, I know it's Los Angeles where he plays, but it's the Angels. Nobody's paying attention. It gets a little different when you're playing in New York City and the scrutiny's there day after day.
Well, you talk about Keith, the potential of money. Ohtani is also a superstar in Japan, right?
Great player, yeah.
And he's got a huge Asian. There's a huge Asian population in New York. So just think of all the jerseys and stuff that.
Yeah. Oh no. Listen, he would be a great player to have here, but I also don't think I need to do it at the expense of Aaron Judge, by the way.
Why, you think
You
you
can have
could afford both? I don't think you can afford both.
Listen,
That'll be a first.
if the Yankees can afford them, they can afford anybody they want. I mean, the money is not, there is no, they put their own self-imposed limits on what they can spend.
Yeah,
They
but
can have both.
You're talking $100 million, Keith.
It's okay. I got paying that to Stanton, for crying out loud. He's terrible.
Yeah, well, I just think.
Well, Stanton hasn't been
listen,
terrible.
I
It
doubt
has-
Relatively, compared to the two guys we're talking about, he doesn't even belong on the same stage.
But you look at now, but Judge might be back at the Yankees. Right now, we don't know. It's a bit of a mystery.
We don't know.
Jacob deGrom, it's starting to look like he's not going to come back to the Mets. He seems just lukewarm. And the Mets haven't indicated that blow him out of the water. I think what might be bothering deGrom, maybe I'm reading too much into this, that he lost his position as the ace on the staff. I know he was injured, but when they won the playoffs against San Diego, Scherzer started game one and not deGrom. That may have irked him. That may have played a role in it. So he's maybe thinking, okay, you want me to stay? I got to get paid a little more than Scherzer. And they might not be ready to do that.
I think they would pay him at least as much on a short contract. They're not going to give him 4 years at $45 million. That's too big a risk. He's 34 years old with a history of arm trouble. I'm not giving that guy more than 2 years.
But Judge has a history also of being injured too, Keith.
Not the same way. Come on. He's had really 2 years where he didn't play a lot. That's it. That's it. And he's proven the last 2 years he can play every day.
I just.
Judge got hit in the hand by a pitch. That's why he was out for a while.
Well, you got to move out of the way, Jeff. I mean, use common sense for guys.
He missed very few games this year. This is a guy who's finished in the top five. He's played 6 seasons. He's finished in the top 5 in the MVP voting 4 times and in the top 12 another time, and won it 1 time.
So
let's get better than that.
Let's get to Aaron Boone, Keith. I mean, did he manage well enough and they don't manage. They sit in the dugout and look at the game. That's what they do.
Not all managers, but that manager, yes.
Yeah, he just blows bubbles and stuff. So if do the Yankees, should they keep Boone on or should they look elsewhere?
Well, he's staying. Hal Steinbrenner already said he's staying, which means Cashman's staying because you're not going to keep your manager and then saddle a new GM with him. So should he stay? I say no. I think they've hit their ceiling with Aaron Boone, right? I mean, look, yeah, he's had great regular seasons. He's won 100 games twice, 99 another time. But he's only made it to the ALCS twice and gotten blown out in one of them. And don't tell me about one time they got cheated, Cashman, because that's, you didn't hit the ball at all. I don't think that affects anything. I think Aaron Boone's, again, they've hit their ceiling. Now, again, I got to have somebody better to replace him with. The guy I wanted to replace him with last year is not available. That's Buck. Yeah. So, again, I got to have a better option.
Yeah, Buck has been taking teams to the World Series throughout his career. Yeah, that's a proven track record. He's the guy who'll take you to the next step in the playoffs.
That is a hole in his resume, but look at some of the teams that he's got.
The guy you want, the guy with a major hole in his resume year after year of not taking teams to the World Series. You want him to replace Aaron Boone because Aaron Boone hasn't taken the guy to the World Series.
Yeah, because I want a guy who's going to stand up to the front office and not just be the puppet that Mac says he is, and I agree with, by the way. Here's your
Mac,
make sure you follow it.
Wants the Yankees maybe to move on from Garrett Cole.
Listen, Joe Torre's not coming back, so I mean, I like Buck a lot. Buck's got a hole in his resume. I don't disagree, but look at some of the teams that Buck has taken to the playoffs, by the way.
The Yankees and Mets had similar years. The Mets won 101 games, the Yankees 99. The Yankees got a bye. At least they won their division. The Mets didn't. The Yankees at least won a playoff series. They beat the Indians. The Mets, after blowing first place and collapsing at the end of the year, they lost in the first round to the Padres. So the Yankees were more successful last year. And yet you're praising the virtues of Buck Showalter, who had an excellent roster himself.
I don't disagree.
Aaron Boone.
This is just my personal preference. I would like Aaron Boone to be gone. Give me another name to put in there, and I'll put him there. I've seen what Aaron Boone can do, and you're right. We see maybe.
Who would you like to manage the Yankees then? Okay,
I was just going to ask that. I was just going to. Could you see the Yankees getting Girardi back?
No, please, no.
What about Don Mattingly?
I think Mattingly's going to want to take a year off, but I'd like to see.
He wants to manage again. I heard him on Major League Baseball.
Oh, did he? Because originally I thought he was going to take a year off, which I would. So that's not going to happen then, because if he gets a job this year, he's not going to be available for a while. I'd like to see Mattingly get the shot. It was a good thing he didn't get the job of the first time, because he had a lot of stuff going on in his personal life. His wife was a mess, and probably would not have gone well if he got the job over Girardi the last time. Listen, a guy I wanted them to hire when they hired Aaron Boone did a pretty good job in Philadelphia this year, and now he's not available. Rob Thompson's a guy they should have hired, and I said that then back in 2017 when they hired Boone.
Do you see Derek Jeter? I mean, I don't think he would do a GM, maybe assistant GM or something. But do you see him attached to the Yankees this year? Maybe as a
this year, maybe not, but I think eventually you will see that. I do.
What capacity, Keith?
Hard to say. I think front office. I don't think you're going to see him in a dugout. I mean,
when
a lot
he
of
lives in Florida, he would do it remotely a lot of the job. I mean, come to New York sometimes, but
if he's not going to commit, then maybe I don't want him either. But I think it will happen. But if he commits, I don't think they're going to say, okay, do your job from Tampa or wherever he lives down there.
We don't know what type of GM Jeter would be. Okay, he has a little bit of a track record at Miami. But let's see what the Marlins do going forward. If those players he got developed and they turned into a good team, kudos to Jeter. Let's give him a lot of credit. But if the Marlins continue to lose the next 2-3 years, that falls on Jeter.
Well, agreed, because he was running the whole show and he was, owner. He was part of ownership. So, because I was going to say it's hard to judge anybody like Mattingly. It's hard to judge his track record with the Marlins because of the organization has been so screwed up over the years. Well, but Jeter's going to have a hard time separating himself from that because he was part of that management team. So
the reason Jeter left was because he wanted to win then right away.
Yeah,
where the ownership wasn't, they weren't committed as he was. They were more worried about maybe building a team or whatever else went along with that. But so I listen. I think Jeter would be a great addition to the Yankees. You gotta have somebody there that wants to win. Instead of
I like guys who are tied to the organization, have a history with the organization as well. So that's why I would like to see that happen. Who knows? Maybe he'll decide he wants to manage at one point. I don't know. I doubt it. Can't do that remotely.
I'm fine with Cashman continuing. I mean, he's been successful year after year. The team eventually, if they can keep making the playoffs year after year, eventually they'll break through. I don't know when it would be, but it's, once a team keeps, they get in the show after the playoffs. And I mean, the Yankees have been there like every year just about.
Yeah, who cares? If they're not going to win, I don't care if they go there or not anymore.
As Yankee fans, we're spoiled, right? We haven't been to a World Series in 13 years, and that's like the second longest drought they've had, for crying out loud.
I'd rather them, Keith, I mentioned this to Doc too. I'd listen, go all the way. I'd rather rebuild, get rid of all the deadwood, get all the young kids in there. And I mean, the Yankee fans may not like it, but let's rebuild. Let's get some young players in there. And as we start winning, then we get our free agents.
Well, I think you can bring the kids up and retool a bit and not just tear it down either. I think you can still be competitive and still get start to get the kids in there. There's a lot of discussion about them chasing one of the free agent shortstops, and I'm thinking to myself, why would you do that? Last year, you only brought in IKF to fill the void while you waited for the kids. Well, the kids had a good year this year, and they're ready.
And they did it again. IKF, they signed them 1 year, $6 million.
Yeah.
Which indicates to me, listen what this indicates to me, guys. Despite what Cashman said about Josh Donaldson, he might have it in his mind. I might have to move Pedraza to third base. Anthony Volpe might not be fully ready till the summertime. So I need IKF there because, he's going to add stability to the infield.
Well, they envisioned him being a utility guy once at some point anyway. So, I'm not surprised they brought him back because he can play around. And you're going to look at like Cabrera's going to play more regularly next year. He's not going to be jumping all over the place like he did this past year. Marwin Gonzalez, I can't have somebody better than Marwin Gonzalez at this point in his career. So I think it's still a good move at $6 million to bring him in as that kind of utility player, because he can even catch. The guy can play pretty much everywhere.
A big mistake I hope the Yankees don't make. Okay, I don't think they'll make it. I think Cashman is much smarter than the public. Do not trade Gleyber Torres. Gleyber Torres is capable of having a big year, being outstanding, taking off. Don't trade Gleyber Torres, okay? Unless you somehow can have to make a blockbuster deal. Let's say the Angels determine they can't sign Ohtani and they want to make a blockbuster deal. Okay, then he becomes part of a deal. The Yankees would have to give up a lot, but you don't trade him unless you get something significant in return.
I need a frontline starting pitcher if I'm going to trade Torres.
Teams aren't trading frontline starting.
I mean, Alcantara is a guy that I've wanted forever, and he's not going to get traded. So,
well, the catcher Trevino, I think he got the platinum glove. I never heard of that before, but he got the platinum glove for his defensive work. Can hit the ball. I mean, he's learning how to to hit the ball against these major league pitchers. I don't know what kind of contract you'd give him, Keith, or if you would just let him ride out what he's got now. But they got to make a move on him soon.
I don't think I need to deal with him yet. But he will get paid eventually, yes. And I think I figured out what the platinum glove is. I'm pretty sure. So he's still a Gold Glover. They had a Gold Glove team, and then one guy gets a platinum glove. So I'm assuming that's the guy they determine as the best defensive player in the league that year.
Right.
Yeah, I mentioned DJ LeMayo. He won like a utility man Golden Glove. And he's versatile. You could put him a little at third, second, first. Good guy to have around. You can move him around. But again, it's with injuries. What did the Yankees do with Aaron Hicks? He's still on the contract. You don't want to eat all that money.
Yeah,
it's easy to say eat the money. You gotta care. Come on,
right. Again, it's
they owe the guy what, 30, 40 million or whatever. You don't just eat that type of money. You try to put him to use.
What use? He is no use. I trade him for a bag of baseballs. Do something. The guy's shown he cannot produce in New York City. He's had one good stretch season his entire career.
Yeah.
And he got a good contract out of it. Good for him.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
he can't help this.
He didn't play well last year, but I mean, he did contribute now and then. He's a switch hitter.
And in flashes. Towards the end of the year, he was coming on a little bit.
Guys are a different guy to be, man.
A lot of this I'm saying with tongue in cheek, but I mean, listen, the guy, $40 million is not a lot of money, as Jack said. And he can get out there and bunt. He bunts pretty well. $10 million a year.
I mean,
that's what we need. We need more bunters on this team. That's what I was thinking. What do we need? We need more bunters.
DJ LeMahieu, though, is very interesting to me. The Yankees infield is pretty much going to be full. I don't think he's going to get a lot of time. He might DH, but again, that backs up a lot of players from taking a rest. So I think they've got to figure out what they're going to do with DJ LeMahieu. Do they keep him? Do they trade him? I think
they're going to keep him. No, he's getting $15 million a year. He has 4 more years left on his deal. That's a lot of money for another team to pay. If he was getting $10 million a year, they might bite on it the next 4 years, not at 15. Let me ask you a bigger question, guys. Let's say Judge does sign with the Giants. What is the Yankees' next big move? That you think they're going to make one big move before in the off season, because to just stand pat doesn't cut it. I mean, do they sign a free agent? I agree with Keith 100%. You got your shortstops, Volpe and Pedraza. To spend money on one of these high-profile shortstops, even though they were who's a free agent, even though they're outstanding, I wouldn't do it.
They're the best. The problem is they're the best players available in free agency is the shortstops, and if they have to fill a hole in Judge is gone, it's going to be very hard to find a guy that comes close to his production in the outfield. So you may have to sign a short. So now, if you sign a guy like Trey Turner, you can play him elsewhere. You can play him at second base. Maybe you move Gleyber to the outfield. I don't know.
Did they do for 1 year sign Michael Conforto and Cody Bellinger, because those guys are going to want to reset their value. Sign them both for 1 year. They get the combined money that Judge would get for 1 year only. They run the contract and then kind of regroup for the following year to make a run at Ohtani.
Conforto's a possibility. Bellinger, I'm gonna say no, because we've already seen that show come through here. Only his name was Joey Gallo, and I don't need to see Bellinger come in here and hit.
He's better than Gallo, though.
He hasn't been the last 3 years. This is one of the most confounding things I've ever seen in Major League Baseball is his demise.
Defensively, he's still been very solid, though.
Well, again, I need guys that hit the ball too.
So Judge leaves.
Gallo's a great defensive player, great teammate.
Say Judge leaves.
Yeah.
Would the Yankees then want to go get a good starter? I mean, would you consider Verlander to be something that the Yankees would go after?
I think the Yankees will be very interested in Verlander, but again, it's going to depend on the length of the contract, right? Because you're not going to give this guy, again, similar to DeGrom, 4 years. I give him a couple years at he'll probably command a couple of years at close to Scherzer money. And he's still a good pitcher at 39 years old. I mean, you want to Cy Young? He had a great year. Yeah. But, these guys are all like one pitch away from not pitching anymore either. So I think they'll be interested in Verlander.
Carlos Rendon is on the market,
Yeah. Another guy, though, I worry about because especially pitchers, man, they come into this market and they just can't handle they don't know what they're in for when they get here, right? And Rondon is a guy that I worry about. Now, he did play in Chicago, so at least he's played in a big market. But even the big markets, are there any like New York? Maybe Philadelphia.
Well, when we speak about New York, we think the pressure with playing for the Yankees, the pressure playing for the Mets. Now, Steve Cohen's been there in a couple of years. He's shown he'll spend big money. He reset the market with these contracts.
Yeah.
If the Mets don't win in the next couple of years and they get bumped from the playoffs quickly, even though make it, might it get to the point where Steve Cohen finally says, I did everything I can. I'm just not spending big money anymore. Let them develop. Like kind of half throwing the towel saying, look, I'm sick of throwing this big money at these guys.
I don't think so. I mean, he was looking to get into the game for long enough that I think he's not going to give up after just 4 or 5 years. I think he's in it for the long haul, and I think that he probably will find a way to put a team together that wins because of the money that he's got to spend, and he's got good people working for him in the dugout, regardless of the hole in his resume, and in the front office. So. I think Steve Cohen's in it for the long haul.
Well, I kind of agree with Jack and agree with you in a way. I mean, Steve Cohen is a businessman, so he's not going to throw away good money if his investment isn't coming together for him. So
because we've never seen that happen, right? Good businessmen do stupid things in baseball. It happens.
Yeah. Mac, he's a fan, Steve Cohen. I'm thinking in terms of winning. It's more than just money to him, I think, in this case.
I agree. It's like Steinbrenner in a way, right? I mean, there's a smart businessman who did a lot of stupid things for a lot of years with the Yankees, if you remember, when he was left to his own devices. So, again, what
I don't see, what I used to see a little bit more is starters finishing up their end of their seasons as relievers. I mean, I'm trying to remember the Red Sox, Eckersley, who, at the end of his career became John Smoltz, very good reliever. Mariano, even, he was a starter, then became a reliever, a little different, but I mean, these guys, they were willing and they were good as relievers when they went down there. Some really great relievers back then. Do you think that the Yankees, say we get Verlander and, 2 more years, do you think he could move into being a relief pitcher and give us value there, Keith?
At his age, I'm not sure that he's going to want to do that, or the Yankees or any other team would do it. And the Yankees, by the way, have their own history of doing it with Dave Righetti back in the day too. They turned him into a pretty good reliever.
True.
You're right. You don't see it a lot. Eckersley was kind of that was a happy just accident that happened. His career as a starter had basically come to an end because he was getting shelled all over the place. And Tony La Russa put him in the bullpen one night, and he pitched great, and then he pitched great the next night, and then before you know it, he's got a Hall of Fame career. No, it doesn't happen very often. But guys get switched. I mean, I don't think Mo Rivera ever started a game in the major leagues. I don't think. But he did come up through the minors as a starter. Yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure about that. I think you're right, though. Doc is doing, he's become he wrote a book about Roy White. He's become very friendly with Roy White now. They're going around, they're doing book signings, and they're talking and they're supporting Roy White's foundation. Keith, I know we've talked about, well, at least Doc, Jack, and me have talked about the value that Roy White really brought to the Yankees, playing with a bad team and going through everything into winning a World Series with him. I mean, do you think that Roy White deserves to be, in Monument Park and should at least have a Roy White day? I mean, give the guy something. The team has maybe because of Steinbrenner's relationship with him and pass on to his son, their relationship hasn't been good at all. And I think it's time to change that.
I do too. Roy White, Roy White's not going to be confused with a Hall of Fame player, but he was a very good guy who showed up to do his job every single day. For most of the 70s, the Yankees tried to give his job away every single year, and he'd get it back. Sometimes when they, later in the 70s, he lost his job, but got it back by the time the playoffs came around and became a key cog. And if you look at Maury Bauer, that's how I got connected with Roy, and I communicate with him now and again and had him on my show, and was one of the great interviews I've had. You look at the numbers he puts up, and Roy's in the top 10 or better in a lot of key categories for the Yankees. Yep. And I look at some of the guys, they won world championships, but so did Roy. But all you had to do have been there 5 years, and we retire your number. Reggie Jackson's a great player. Played 5 years with the Yankees. Should he have his number retired and a plaque? Any more than Roy White? I mean, Reggie Jackson's a better player than Roy White. I'm not going to make that argument. But meaning something to the Yankees. And remember, and I know you know this, Mac, for sure, growing up a Yankee fan, they were terrible.
Oh, yeah.
And I had Bobby Mercer and Roy White and Thurman later on, a bit younger to root for. But, Roy White was a constant there during a lot of chaos, and then held on long enough to be a key part of 2 world championship teams. Well, key part of one of them. One postseason he got left out, which he's still a little bit bitter about.
Yeah, I don't blame him either.
Yeah, so yes,
No. The postseason you talked about 1977 that he didn't play much. Keep in mind he did get up and he pinch hit in the 9th inning with them a run down in the deciding Game 5. He drew in a very important walk.
But he had like 3 at bats to the whole post. He
scored the go-ahead run in the Yankee decisive Game 5 win over the Royals. So, when you say left out, he kind of lost his starting job to Lou Piniella, and then he kind of regained it the next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that in '78 he was a key contributor to the championship that year in the playoffs, and the regular season was what it was. It was okay. It was a Roy White, late in his career year, productive when he played, and he did little things that teams. Yankees don't have the guys who do those things today, right? One of the things that's wrong with baseball today is there aren't Roy Whites who just do the little things that don't even go noticed in the box score sometimes, and just a classy individual. And some of the guys we have out there in Monument Park today, how's, not to change the subject, but how's Bernie Williams not get a freaking plaque before Paul O'Neill, Tino Martinez?
Bernie has a plaque. I think Bernie
doesn't have a plaque.
Well, no. They did have something for him because I remember they had an event or they had a day for him. No. Bernie
might have.
There.
No plaque.
They had something for Bernie where they inducted him. In the team's Hall of Fame. I'm not sure whether the Yankees have a Hall of Fame. They have the Monument Park. But I think you're wrong on that. I think you're wrong that they do have it for Bernie. Yeah, there's no way they would put O'Neill in ahead of Bernie.
They did, because I guarantee O'Neill got his first. Well, O'Neill got his last year, I guess, right?
O'Neill's number was retired. I'm not sure that Bernie's number was retired, but Bernie is a Monument Park.
I don't think.
Yeah, you're wrong on that. I remember Jeter showing up.
I think Jack's right on that, Keith. I really do.
I remember Jeter smiling, showing up for Bernie and having a good time, and the players on the field.
Yeah,
And
Mo
Bernie-
and Posada and all those guys that were there for that.
Right.
Well,
Bernie wasn't left out, but
If I'm
Nettles
wrong,
is
I'm
left-
wrong. But I'm going to check real quick. But
Greg Nettles isn't in Monument Park too.
Nope.
He should be in.
no, his numbers there. But Roger Maris, it's there for Roger Maris.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's. But you know what's going to be annoying? If they have a day for Brett Gardner, who played 14 years for the Yankees, he was a similar player to Roy White, but Roy White was a little better.
Yeah.
And if they have something for Gardner, whose career mirrored White's to an extent, that would be flat out, wrong at that point.
Look, I love Gardy. I don't think Gardy belongs out there in Monument Park either. But
a day for him, but maybe a day for Gardy would be nice without putting him in Monument Park. That's the thing about it now. Can you have a day for a guy without putting him in Monument Park?
I guess
Just
so.
a day to thank him.
The Yankees have days for like 5 guys a year, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean, just have something, to bring them. Bring these guys back, show your appreciation.
I mean, look at the numbers. We don't have a lot was we can give out that aren't in the 50s and 60s anymore.
Yeah,
for crying
Roman
out loud.
numerals are next. Yeah, not only was Roy White a player, he was a coach too. I mean, he was a third baseman. Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, what does he got to do? I mean, it confuses the heck out of me when you got a guy that's been there, for 20 years or something, 25 years, whatever he's been there.
15 with the
and you can't.
as a coach,
player. Yeah, as a player, but he coached he had a couple different stints as a coach.
I mean, that's just ridiculous, guys.
One of the great stories of Roy White he told, and I'm sure people know this pretty well by now, but I didn't realize it until I interviewed him that, he's the only guy in history to have batted cleanup behind Mickey Mantle and Sadahara, which it's kind of cool.
Yeah. He said they knew he would get a base hit, and behind Mickey Mantle, so they would pitch to Mickey more because they think Mickey would strike out. But all interesting stuff, all stuff that people forget about, and hopefully when they hear the show, they remember guys like Roy White.
And, I think what the problem is generations move on, and you get new generations, and they identify with the Yankee teams of the 90s, the later part that had that run, the championships. And they kind of put this one behind them. Just like Met fans, they're going to identify a little more with the 86 team than the 69 team.
You know what? That's part of the problem, I think, with young fans today. And again, this is maybe a topic for another day. They think it started when they started watching, right? When I started watching the game, I learned the history of not just my team, but baseball history, right?
Yeah.
Now everybody thinks it started when they started watching, So
I mean, that's baseball's fault. Again, baseball.
I don't disagree.
Baseball's got to do more to raise the awareness of what happened. I mean, how old is baseball? And it blows my mind that some things are left out and some things are put to the forefront. And it bothers me.
Let's put in rules that change the way the game is even played.
Let's not go there. Jack tries to stop me from talking about the.
Please. Wait, I'll allow you spring training, Mac. We could talk.
Okay.
You can talk.
How about we give Rob Manfred a plaque and bury him under it, for crying out loud? That would be a good start, I think.
Wow, Keith's calling for. Don't let that go out there. I mean, that.
Oh yeah, I might get banned from Facebook now.
You might get in trouble.
I'm not asking him to be murdered. He could be buried alive. I mean,
Okay. Oh, Lord.
Accidents happen,
Yes, they do. So, folks, we're getting close to the end of the show here. We got about a minute left. I want to thank those who joined us for joining us. Thank you, Keith, for coming on. Byron, always a pleasure having him on with his unique view and his Giants bias, which I love because I have that too.
You don't yourself, I know.
we will get the Zappy situation figured out before the season is over, and I know Keith is rooting for him as hard as I am. So,
Yeah.
we'll have that all figured out. Maybe by next show, who knows? I don't know. Jack's Jets they're just terrible now. So Zach Wilson is I don't know. Zach Wilson is just going to sit on the bench for the rest of the year, collect a paycheck.
Mishandled badly, by the way.
Missed one game, Jack. I don't know. It's one game leads
Maybe
to
there'll be
another.
more. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah. And Joe Flacco will come to your rescue. So that's just
No, Mike White played, didn't he? Mike White.
yeah, Randy White. So anyway, I'm sorry, Jack, for piling on. I shouldn't do that. I do like the Jets. Folks, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow on the Jack, Mac, and Doc won't be in. So Jack, Mac, and Pags will be here tomorrow. We'll debate the biggest topics in sports. We'll see you. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you tomorrow on the Mac and Jack Debate Show. Have a good day, everybody.